The U.S. Energy Department concludes the COVID outbreak likely began in a Chinese lab. An update on Senator John Fetterman's health, and a new study shows the 5 dirtiest cities in the U.S. Joining us now to discuss some of the big headlines on Capitol Hill is Washington insider Armstrong Williams. Happy Monday to you, sir. I want to start with the Energy Department's report here. It joins the FBI in its conclusion that COVID likely originated in a lab in China. Now, this report just came out yesterday. Why now do you think it took nearly 3 years since the start of the COVID outbreak to come to this conclusion? Why now?
By what you just said, the fact that the FBI and the Energy Department and our government, and it's not likely it did. The fact is that the Chinese will never admit how it's been responsible for millions of deaths and people getting sick all around the world. It tells you about their global influence, their propaganda campaign, how they can intimidate the world's only superpower, the United States, to make you believe for 3 years that it did not originate from Wuhan lab. And the fact is, they will never admit as much, which is why we can never trust them, which is why they're a very dangerous nation, because they don't care about human lives. They care about power, they care about deceit. And like many Americans paid a price on social media with their health, their loved ones are not here today. People have long-term COVID. And if we were able to get into that lab at the beginning to find out exactly what happened, it could have been intentional, it could have been an accident. Here's the fact, Jan. We don't know how it started. We just know this. It started at the Wuhan lab.
And no one's still been allowed to go into that lab there in China since all this happened. U.S. Senator John Fetterman recently checked himself into a hospital for clinical depression. You know, Armstrong, we've gotten very few updates, except we know that his wife tweeted that she took the kids to Canada to get away from this media circus. Do you think we're going to see him back in the Senate anytime soon?
Again, misleading, manipulating, deceit. John Fetterman never recovered from his stroke. John Fetterman probably had serious health issues. Can you imagine the pressure and the stress that campaign had on him and what he had to endure, sacrificing his health, and all of a sudden it caught up with it. You may use the excuse of depression, but there's something much deeper going on. That's why his office has said it's indefinite, because he's trying to get the recovery that he should have gotten when he first had his stroke. We have no idea. He may not come back. We just don't know. The fact is, they cannot become transparent, because they would know, the American people, especially the voters of Pennsylvania, would know a big lie and deceit was perpetrated not only by him, but by the mainstream media.
And Armstrong, a new study found that the top 5 dirtiest cities in the U.S. are Houston, Newark, San Bernardino, Detroit, and Jersey City. So this really goes all across the U.S. here. What do all of these cities have in common, and how do they get that ranking?
Sympathy for people that don't respect their city, don't respect their culture, from homelessness to needles to drugs to trash. And it builds up for so long, it just becomes a way of life. You won't see that in Washington, D.C., where our mayor removed the blight of the homelessness and force them to go inside homes. Sometimes in these cities, you have to take very tough stands. A lot of these cities are run by Democratic mayors. They feel they have to be sympathetic and not do what is in the best interest and allow this to become an eyesore. It's an indictment of leadership, Jan, and it's an indictment of misplaced sympathy and empathy. There is no excuse for it, and it's really sad.
All right. Washington insider Armstrong Williams, always great to get your insight. We appreciate you joining us this morning here on the National Desk. Have a great week.
You too now.